Well, it is a pleasure to be with all of you this morning. Actually, I just show it started at 10, just turned to 10:30. So we have some awesome stuff to talk about today, and I am joined by an absolute wonderful friend of mine, Curt Anderson. Super smart, very knowledgeable about B2B manufacturing and e-commerce, kind of the marriage of all these together. And we're just gonna chat about some of the things we've been talking about recently. And I think it's a pretty important conversation, a massive inhibitor to growth for manufacturers. And so, with that being said, Curt, I'm going to turn it over to you. He is such an outstanding MC. Like I pale in comparison as far as MCing capabilities as him. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and we're just going to have a fun time chatting this through, looking at B2B manufacturing and e-commerce. Curt, take it away.
Well, Joseph Maxwell, thank you, my friend. What an honor. What a privilege to be here on this glorious, wonderful spring day. And so, man, we
Mm.
have a ton to cover. So let's just dive in. So, again, founder of Swift Otter. And just for the record, how many years have you been in e-commerce? I wanted the folks to know that.
I've been doing it for about 15 years now. I started when I was 15. I wrote a shopping cart platform for a family business. So yeah, it's been a while.
Well, you've been and then though it might seem like a short time, that's an e-commerce
Mhm.
dog years. That's it might as well be 100 years. But
That's right. That's
you've
right. Yeah.
seen a ton of changes, and they just don't stop, unfortunately. And
Mhm.
I think the big thing that we want to talk about today is kind of two things: is how do we dispel that myth of the overwhelm, the intimidation? I can't do this. Manufacturers absolutely can do this, but most
Mhm.
importantly, we want to help them. How do we hit the easy button? How do we help their customers? So, we want to make it easy for the manufacturers, but most importantly, we've got to be dedicated to make it easy for the manufacturer's customer to do business with them. So let's dive in. We've got a fun program here. Let's kind of give everybody the nuts and bolts of what we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to look at the inhibitions as far as what prevents manufacturers and honestly anybody, but especially with this focus on manufacturers from getting into e-commerce. Like what are the things, the reasons that keeps us from going to this place. But once we look at the inhibitions, we're going to uh, destroy those in a fairly easy way, I think. And we're going to then present a plan and then the details. Unless you think this is a big, massive sales talk, the answer is no. I mean, yes, there is a plan that could involve us at the end, but we're going to lay this out in a way that puts you at the driver's seat, you understanding what needs to happen. And we're going to boil this down to as simple as absolutely possible, just so you can dispel this myth that building an e commerce website when starting out is this really complicated, big, massive project. We're going to help show you that it's actually fairly simple.
That's right. And so, Joseph, I think we've coined a new term, if you will, right? So,
Mhm.
e-commerce, back in the day, it was electric commerce, right? It is no longer electric commerce.
That's right.
What does E stand for, Joseph? Could you please enlighten the folks?
It now stands for easy commerce. So no, we're not doing the iPhone, the IE, those acronyms. E now stands for easy commerce. And the reality is once you pare back all these, I'm going to use the word assumptions, things that we like to think of as, well, we end up thinking of as far as critical foundational elements of a project. We say, is that really necessary? It's kind of challenging the status quo here. We're going to come back and we're going to see, it's actually a little bit easier. In fact, a lot a bit easier than we would think it to be. So, for example, right here on the screen, Curt pulled up. Thank you, Curt. We can think of getting into e commerce as too big of a project. There's too much that we need to know, there's too many unknowns. There's getting everything set seems completely overwhelming, seems daunting, and thus this to-do list item gets pushed off from 2024 to 2025 and then on to 2026, all the while knowing that our those that are buying from us continue just the way time works, continue to get younger and will have already adopted this type of technology and start even using this as a differentiator to determine whether to purchase from you or your competitor. So too big of a project is a massive inhibitor. We think there is so much to do. How in the world are we going to get it done? And it gets pushed off.
It does. And I think the thing is, a lot of time it's common, like what's easy, what's convenient for us. We're not
Hmm.
always dedicated ourselves to thinking what's convenient for the customer. It's hard to flip that script and put ourselves in the customer's shoes. And so again, back to that easy commerce, if we can just dedicate ourselves, are we making it easy? Do they have to pick up the phone and call us? Do they have to email us? Are they send us a purchase order when they could just jump online? And not only now is it easier for them, it is
Hmm.
easier for you. Let's keep the party going. How about this one here, Joseph?
Boy, it's this is kind of the same idea here. So, getting this information together, whether it's your product database, maybe whether it's pricing, whether it's trying to figure out compliance, whether it's trying to determine all the shipping rates, everything like that. We as often as organizations tend to look at the nuance, which the nuance is that 20% of those business cases that make end up to be 80% of the work to do. What we're talking about here today is looking at that 20% of effort that yields 80% of the results. Wouldn't you love to have 80% of the improvement that comes with e-commerce or digital transformation, as opposed to uh, looking at the full piece of the puzzle and saying, well, we can't do it because of this 20% nuance that is 80% of the work. Looking at that 80% that gets us takes 20% of the net effort is a massive win. And we can do that by zooming in to the scope of what we are going to be accomplishing. Instead of saying this is going to be this massive project, we're going to say, what can we start with? And you're going to hear that as a theme as
Yeah.
we continue forward.
Yeah, and phenomenal point here, Joseph, because the thing is, you think, as manufacturer, think of your customer service, or you're in sales or
Mhm.
owner, whatever position you're in. How many times do you answer the same question over and over and over, especially with a new, prospect, a new lead? Hey, what are your shipping times? What's supply chain look like? What does this
Mhm.
quality, IPC standards, ISO stand, whatever those questions are, by putting all that on your website, taking these products, putting that information there. Now you're doing it one time. You've made it easier for you. And I know we need to get over that hurdle of like, well, I have to do it. Well, you're doing it over and over anyway. Why not just do it once? Right.
That's
And
right.
so I love what you're saying here. How about Joseph? Let's dive into this one.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. It's the type of thing that for many manufacturers, that business case isn't as solid as you want it to be in order to make a very significant investment. In fact, some cases they can be a significant investment, such as 7 or 8 figures. However, that's if you're looking, generally speaking, at this whole solution to accommodate every single type of nuance out there. If we pull this back to that 20% effort solution, the numbers are well within an easy business case, as well as it can even become less through some of the ideas we're going to discuss here in this conversation as we can go forward. So,
Right.
yes, getting buy-in for a brand new venture for that are 7 or 8 figures for a manufacturer can be a difficult thing to do. However, as you're able to understand, is this really necessary? Is this really necessary? Is this piece really necessary? That pulls back that scope into a bite-sized chunk, something that you can start with a good foundation and then build on later as you continue to see success.
Yeah, great point here. How do you reduce that overwhelm intimidation from a budget standpoint?
Mhm.
And the thing is, many small manufacturers, when they want to tip their toe for the first time, unfortunately, they're comparing themselves to maybe a vendor, a supplier. It could be a DuPont, it's a billion-dollar company, and they're
That's
looking
right.
at a website that, is probably, headless and like you're saying, a 7, 8 figures. So like, hey, I want that. Well, let's take a step back, let's
Mhm.
crawl, let's walk, and then let's start running,
That's
and
right.
so how can we take that phased approach? I love what you're saying, focus on that 20%. Let's get within our budget, let's get within our
Mhm.
means, because we need to get off the sideline, get into the game is what is the most important thing. So okay, let's keep this party rolling.
I
CD-ROM, are
love
you
this
are
one.
you old enough to know what a CD-ROM is? I would
I
know.
am. I am, and I still remember when DVDs came out. So maybe I was just somehow
Man, I'm
technologically integrated back then.
I'm
I don't know.
impressed. I'm impressed. I saw this. I was like, "There's no. He's not old enough for this." But what are we talking about here?
fact, I have a CD. I have some CDs still floating around here. I used to get when I was back young. I was kind of this nerdy teenager geek, and I subscribed to the Microsoft Developer MSDE, Microsoft Developer Exchange, and they sent out CDs every month, a stack of
Nice.
CDs. It was incredible. It was like birthday every month. So here's the problem with a lot of times in e-commerce, we often look at this first release as having to be 100% perfect. Like I'm talking about 8 or 20 or 80% of the functionality plus the final 20%, right? 100% of functionality. It has to be perfect this first go around, which means we have to do a whole bunch of extra due diligence. We have to get all these different departments involved. We have to get sign off from budget. We have to get sign off from executive. And guess what? The project never happens in 2024. It never happens in 2025, et cetera, because it's this process ends up being like a CD-ROM. It has to be shipped perfect day one, and it's never can be changed after that. In reality, it never is shipped perfect on day one, no matter how much everyone tries their hardest. There's always going to be little tweaks that have to happen. But secondly, this is electronic, going back to the old version of
Yeah.
this e-letter. It's electronic. It can be changed. Curt used the example just a minute ago, crawl, walk, run, right? So we can start out in the crawling phase. You know, you look at the kid is what, 9, 10 months old when they start crawling, and they're going to grow a massive amount, what 18 inches tall up to 5, 6 feet over the next 13, 14, 15 years, right? So this is a ongoing process. It's never complete. Even if you look at the giants in the industry, Amazon, DuPont, they're still changing their websites, and those websites have been around for 20 years. So let's view our website as a work in progress, get something, a foundation set, and with that foundation, we get it set. Then we can continuously iterate on it as time goes on and we see success.
Well, as a dad of 3, I love your analogy there. You know it as well as anybody how that whole, crawl, walk, run
That's
process
right.
works. So that was a great analogy, and I'm sure that sunk in with folks. Let's go in here. I love, on the last slide, just for a reminder, we talked about getting that buy-in. Okay. Now, to get the buy-in, we don't need to be the wrecking ball. We don't need to be the bulldozer. But, when you think of bulldozer, a bulldozer can be really positive.
That's
We're
right.
clearing the path. We're going to build something spectacular. I love this analogy. Take us here. What's going on with a bulldozer?
Exactly. So my goal is this conversation is a bulldozer to these inhibitions we've talked about. If we can start from zero, ground zero, and kind of peel back these layers that get added through conversations and corporate bureaucracy and that sort of thing, and if we can just build a business case starting with a foundational element, you need e-commerce. And I think that's for most every manufacturer, that is a true statement. We need e-commerce. We need to allow our products to be purchased in this way. So, what is the bare bones, the absolute minimum place that we can start, and how can we iterate on that? That's where this bulldozer comes in. So, if we could wipe away these inhibitions and say, in a theoretical world, what would it look like to get e-commerce started, to get this traction going, and how can we do that? That's where we're going here with this conversation.
Well, absolutely love it. So we've covered the inhibitions. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to come into this just fearlessly. And I think one thing that can't be overstated is manufacturers, with e-commerce. E-commerce is no longer a nice to have. It is mission critical. I obviously you and I are a little bit on the bias side. So whether somebody does business, whoever they're doing business with, you
Mhm.
really have to get into e-commerce. So to get into e-commerce, you need to have a plan. Let's dive into, you and I, we love talking about the customer portal. We can dive into that. We talk about configurators, having actual
That's
products
right.
that people can drop into a shopping cart. Let's talk about the plan. Where do you start with folks?
I start with the word or the acronym MVP.
Now, Joseph, I have to interrupt real quick. Now you're in
Yeah, yeah.
Kansas City. Like how the Toronto Blue
Yes.
Jays, seriously? Do we have to go to Toronto? I'm just teasing. But, all right, what is the MVP in
It
this case here compared to what you might be talking about?
the MVP that I'm talking about actually will end up playing off of this slide right here. will make you the most valuable player in your organization. But that's not necessarily the initial intent of of the acronym MVP. Curt, if we go to the next slide, the idea behind MVP is minimum viable product. You've probably heard this phrase before, and what this often sets off as alarm bells is people saying, well, but this means it's a unusable product. No, that would be an unusable, non-viable product. And that's not what we're going for here. But what ends up happening is there is often a distinction between minimum viable product and unusable product. And that distinction is, what do your customers want and need? Again, this is where the layers that we can start assigning to these projects leading to this bloat comes from, is when we can say, well, this is what we need in order to make it functional, but what about what the customer needs? Minimum viable product, I think, should be focused on the customer first, and then we can start adding in our layers of needs on top of this.
Yeah.
That's the primary point here.
Yeah. Couldn't love this enough. I remember probably 10, 12, whatever it was, years ago. I'm at a client and we're talking about e-commerce and dedicating ourselves to make it easy for the customer. And, again, as a digital immigrant and, no, don't mean anything critical here, but I vividly remember they're saying, boy, if we did that, what would
Mhm.
Joanne down the hall do?
That's right.
We're more worried about what's going to happen internally on the pushback as opposed to making it easy to do business with our customers. And so that's what we really, Amazon, I absolutely love. They have a thing that's called the empty chair. And I don't remember if you and I talked about this before.
I
What
don't
it
think we have
is,
yet.
it's I did a little research project on Amazon, 10, 15 years ago, and they have a
Hmm.
thing called the empty chair. And what it is, when they're sitting around, they have a conference meeting, whatever it is,
Mhm.
that chair is in that chair is the customer. It's a fictitious, it's it's an empty chair, but it's the customer. And they're constantly asking, hey, customer, what can we do to make your buying process easier? What can we do to make your day better? And
That's
so
right.
I love that, if we all could take that empty chair concept, but what's going on here? Let's dive into each checkpoint here.
Exactly. So this is what gets me really excited. As we are able to exclusively focus on the customer first and our
Mhm,
organizational needs second,
mhm.
we number one need to make sure customers can find products. You could probably insert a middle bullet point in here that they get the information that they need on those products.
Yep.
Ideally, they get their drawings, they get the specifications. We really would like it, if possible, might not be possible for round one, to have shipping information as far as what the timelines look like. Again, it might be very manual for round one, and then it can be automated in the future. They get the information they need, but then they can make purchases. They're able to push this process through. The benefit, though, and this third point is both call it a requirement, but it's also a feature, is that your sales team's value gets exponentially increased, because now, instead of the sales team being order takers, they are able to uh, develop those customer relationships, being pushing people towards e-commerce, be a salesperson actually for e-commerce to your customers, as opposed to salesperson for those orders. It's teach a person to fish, give a person a fish, you'll feed him for a day.
Mhm.
Teach a person how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea that we are going for here, is helping your customers find the information that they need on the website, being able to push that process through as easily as possible.
Yeah, one of our taglines is, how do you help that ideal customer? And maybe it's not even a new prospect. This is an ongoing 20-year relationship that you had. And let's not lose that relationship. And what I
That's
love
right.
to see is, how can we help that ideal buyer make a buying decision on a Friday night at midnight without having to wait for you to open up your doors on Monday morning? How can we just make it,
Absolutely.
who knows what time zone they're in, their
Mhm.
timeline, they work from home, don't work from home, family, whatever. We don't know, like, let's make it easy for them. Love, love, love what you're saying here. And let your sales, a lot of sales reps are like, hey, wait a minute, this is what we do. No, let's empower you to be more of a salesperson, not a order taker, not playing customer service rep, not playing, order information. I don't need to know what the price of, some a commodity is from, in a phone call. Let me just find it on my own. So I love that. We're going to dive in here now for folks. I want to bring this. from an SEO standpoint, this can get a little high level or a little technical here. So
Mhm.
walk through folks what you're describing here with shop.mywebsite.com. What's going on this slide?
Absolutely. So we're talking about minimum viable product, easy to get going. I'm guessing for most of you who are listening to what we're saying here, you probably already have a website going. I mean, this is the 21st century. I mean, we all have websites, right? And so the idea of rebuilding your website, trying to capture all that information, trying to establish a new website can be daunting. There's implications to that, and is that probably part of phase two? Yes, definitely. Like that's something you would probably want as far as phase two is to have a unified experience. But we're talking about foundation getting going here. So, what would it look like if you were to have a subdomain, what's called a subdomain, this shop.mywebsite.com, where you can direct people to? It's easy to add links on your current website. It's easy to add on this shop.mywebsite.com links back to your main website. So it's very reciprocal. But this shop.mywebsite.com is a fairly vanilla e-commerce experience. Vanilla meaning it doesn't have many changes made to it, but people can go there, see the product information, and purchase here as well. So they're able to make this is a full-fledged e-commerce experience sitting here on the side where people can go to find out this information and purchase through that opportunity that path. The
Right.
benefit here is it is separate. It's easy to get going. It's easy to set up.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So, hopefully, I'm hoping this is layman's terms. And if you have any questions whatsoever, reach out to Joseph. He can take this, in a much deeper dive, intimate conversation, show you an example with your website. So say if you're already on a platform, hypothetically, WordPress, very common platform, and you're like, well,
Mhm.
gee, I want to get into a shopping cart and I'm not sure how this would work. This is a very simple, viable solution that Joseph's describing. Again, Joseph would be more than happy to take this conversation deeper. Now, this is a perfect
Absolutely.
segue as we're going to dive in. You and I, and everybody loves to be objective, but we're going to talk about big commerce. We're dear friends. As a matter of fact, my call after this is with the team at Big Commerce. We're huge proponents. I feel they are deeply, deeply dedicated to helping industrial, B2B, and
Mhm.
manufacturers with e-commerce solutions. What is, for folks that are new to big commerce, kind of walk us through big commerce, and in particular, what is B2B edition?
Absolutely. So BigCommerce is a e-commerce platform. BigCommerce, they all have the word commerce in them, except for Shopify. They're the one unique player there. But so BigCommerce is this platform. Basically, it has all these e-commerce features built out. Most everything you'd ever need in order to function as a e-commerce business. Take orders through the website, show customers products, categorize them on category pages, design elements on like the homepage, put some information on there, log in as a customer. The administrators can also log in as that customer account to kind of see what they're seeing. That's the foundational e-commerce platform. It's a really good product, great value that they have with this. A lot of good features out of the box. I'll just quickly throw this out here. Shopify is often the head-to-head competitor for BigCommerce. BigCommerce is usually less expensive. It's easier. It's a better place to get started with. And their B2B edition is still significantly better than Shopify. So if you're thinking the elephant in the room, Shopify, I would suggest that you take a look at BigCommerce. It's a outstanding platform, and really they've invested heavily on the B2B side. So it's a great fit there. This B2B edition is an extra suite of capabilities, and it really goes into things that you as a B2B manufacturing partner will likely want. And again, our goal is to talk about things that you can literally put on your website or stand up this separate website that has at least 80% of what all your customers are going to want out of the box. So for example, in this B2B bundle has the ability to submit items for quotes. So they can literally assemble a shopping cart worth of products and send that to your sales team. Your sales team can be assigned to company accounts in this B2B bundle edition, and they can negotiate on pricing. Being able to, if you have parts that are often or regularly reordered, having those lists of those products easily accessible for the customer without any development partner needing to be involved. right there, easily available for your customers. Being able to have set up a specific product catalog for customers. So let's say you have this high volume customer that they order 5 products from you. You've negotiated incredible rates with them. Well, not incredible to you, like incredible for them rates. And but it's high volume. You still make your money there. But they don't want to. They want to share this catalog of products with their distributors or whatever, and they don't want to necessarily show all the products across your entire catalog. Well, you can deliver a very specific subset of products with those negotiated prices specifically for those customers. That's a huge win. You can also put custom checkout fields in the checkout page. Another big win. When do you want this delivered? What day of the week? What time of the day do you want this delivered? Things like that are from a B2B experience needing a little bit more touch involved in placing these orders, things that your salespeople would be asking these questions regularly. You can drop those questions right in the checkout as well.
Yeah, again, lots to unpack right there. And so, if you were found that closely, man, go back and you catch a replay, hit the rewind button on that, and just walk through what Joseph just described. You can create an extremely powerful, intimate solution for your customer, thus easy commerce right here. And so, again, any questions, reach out to Joseph. He'd be happy to walk you through this. But as a
Absolutely.
manufacturer, what I hope what was, the takeaway here was allowing my customer to come on in high
hmm
volume, order their products, super easy, super simple. Let's dive into a couple examples here, Joseph. What's going on here?
Yeah. This is the page that I was talking about, allowing you to give your customers insight as far as what they have ordered from you through the e-commerce website. Super plain English, like right there in front of them. This is what they have ordered. They can search it. Very easy to see. This is a quick overview. So I don't know, Curt, if you want to bounce to the next slide. Um, Purchase products. This is where your customer can go in and reorder products. They can quickly place orders for products. So you can enter a SKU number in. You can see the products you've ordered in the past. Easily place reorders for those. You can also add sub users. So in BigCommerce, you have 2 levels of buyers. You have a senior buyer and a junior buyer. Junior buyers can't actually place orders themselves, but they can create a list of products and have a senior buyer purchase that for them. So very powerful in keeping track of these permissions, so that you can delegate the work to these junior buyers, and then just have the senior buyer make a couple clicks and the order is placed. So one of the massive benefits with BigCommerce is, I'm going to say, you can probably have, for most people, not e-commerce experts, you can have your website up and going in 16 hours of your time. Super basic, like there's going to be very minimal changes. You're going to have a product catalog up there, but 16 hours have a fully featured e-commerce experience. Is it going to be perfectly tuned to your branding? Is it going to have all the bells and whistles that you'd ever like to have? No. But the idea is a minimum viable product within a few hours of even your effort, your time. This is a foundation. This is minimum viable product. There is manifold times more features and functionality and looks that would be added to the website. But let's get something off the ground, get you running, and then you can add to that.
Yeah, fantastic point here. And again, just kind of recap here what we're talking, when you hear the word SaaS, right? Software as a service, that's exactly what this is. So as a manufacturer, when you're looking at competitors, you're like, man, look at my competitors doing this, or my vendors doing this, suppliers doing that. What BigCommerce offers is it's off the shelf part of the package. So it's not cut if you're talking to a web designer out there and they start talking headless or when you say the word custom, just that equates money, right? And so the
That's
nice
right.
thing is here, a lot of these things are coming right part of the package. That's part of your monthly service that you provide. I have no skin in the game. I have no financial relationship, with BigCommerce. Just a huge fan of the solution, the powerful solution that they offer for manufacturers. So lots to unpack, lots to uncover. And again, I want to be mindful of everybody's time. We'll keep the party rolling. But if you want to take a deeper dive conversation, reach out to Joseph, reach out to myself on LinkedIn. But Joseph, so we really bulldozed those inhibitions. We got through that. We covered, it's much, much bigger, but in about 10, 15 minutes or so, we dove into a plan.
That's right.
We're not going to do a super deep dive because we've covered a lot. We don't want to overwhelm anybody, but let's scratch the surface on the details. Let's get into some of the details here. What's going on here?
There are 4 elements of this, and like Curt said, I am more than happy to dive into each one of these in a little bit more detail if you have questions about this. There are 4 items that really have to be determined to get this website functional. And even in this, there are still even layers of nuance there that we can even peel back. Number 1 is products pricing. You have to have a list of products and you have to have prices for those products. Now, remember, you don't have to list every one of your products. Some of those products might be incredibly complex. You don't have to list some of those. There might even be ways to then simplify those complex products. It's likely that people on the website won't need all this layers of complexity. You can put a link in the description saying, call us if you want this, this, or this changed. We can keep the products usually simple. Pricing as well. You can theoretically upload every product customer's pricing up into the website. That's going to take time. Instead, what you should do is consider having your retail pricing have a discounted pricing for your wholesalers. And maybe as you're wanting to incentivize a couple of your bigger buyer groups, maybe start with one of their pricing tables and work past that. The idea is super, super simple. Maybe you don't even motivate your existing customer base to buy, or you just start by focusing on other customers, trying to get people who are coming to the website. There's a couple things to think about there, but keep it simple. Get something launched, get traction, and go from there. Products and pricing, keep that simple.
And let me throw my SEO hat, because for our contract
Please.
manufacturers that they feel left out of the e-commerce party, I'll just hit this super quick. Every contract manufacturer has a proprietary process. Your proprietary
Mhm.
process of Joseph has been preaching that 20/80 rule. Your proprietary process can be your e-commerce opportunity. When you convert your process, ICNC, I manufacture circuit boards. When you convert that into a product per se, now you've got really, I like to use the word juicy. You've got juicy SEO opportunities. Again, we could geek
Mhm.
out much, much further. I love diving into that with clients and with manufacturers. So again, if there's another takeaway here, e-commerce brings powerful SEO opportunities for you and your
That's right.
company. Joseph, let's keep the party rolling. Shipping. Obviously, we're going to make our product. We've got to
That's
ship
right.
it. What are some shipping solutions for folks?
Uh, Big Commerce Enterprise includes a product called Shipper HQ. Shipper HQ is probably going to take care of every piece of your shipping calculations. So basically, showing your customer live shipping rates. This is what it's legitimately going to cost to get this product from our doorstep to your doorstep. One thing to consider in this is if you're thinking about free shipping and Amazon and all that stuff, put a comment in there. There's places you can drop text on BigCommerce, on places on the BigCommerce website. Say, look, free shipping is a misnomer. There is no such thing as free shipping. We are charging you what we pay to the shipping provider. That's it. People understand that. And they understand that there is no such thing as free shipping. So shipping is generally very simple. Keep it simple. Start out at the most basic level you possibly can.
Yeah, and for even our friends out there that are shipping pallet loads, containers, there are incredibly sophisticated yet simple solutions. And a lot of times as a manufacturer, we feel like, oh, we're
Mhm.
alone. We're the only one that has this problem. Guess what? Millions of manufacturers, have the same problems. Millions of folks have the same challenges, and there are a lot of solutions. So I would encourage you, don't make any assumptions that your problem is more complicated than anybody else's, or that there's not a solution. Let's at least ask.
That's
And that's
right.
a great thing about someone with Joseph, and lining yourself with an e-commerce expert, a strategist, is because they've paved the path, right? What's the famous
Absolutely.
proverb? The best way to go down a path is talk to the people on the way back, right? So, all right, let's keep it going. Payment, obviously, we love shipping product. More importantly, we need to be paid for our product. Joseph, what options do we have here?
Yeah, so payments is often a big hiccup that we see, big road bump, and the reason for that is Manufacturers might be using for example, an outdated ERP, using an outdated payment provider, and then, okay, well, guess what? This payment provider doesn't exist on e-commerce, and it's a real nightmare. However, another option would be to literally start with PayPal. PayPal is incredibly sophisticated. It's not like the old PayPal eBay days where it was kind of had got a bad rap. PayPal, super simple to set up. Maybe open a new bank account, drop the PayPal funds in there, and from a technical term, accounting term, use journal entries to pull that over. Is that going to be as simple and on the ledger every single transaction? No. But do we really need it to be that case?
Yeah.
No. And keep it simple. Those integrations are not always necessary. There's even way further that we could discuss this. I don't want to bore you with the details, but keep payments simple as well.
Well, love it. I'm glad you mentioned PayPal. I personally use PayPal, super easy. I have clients that use
Mhm.
PayPal, super easy, do exactly what you described. And I just finished reading Peter Thiel's book, the founder of PayPal, Zero to One,
Nice.
phenomenal, incredible
Yep.
book for anybody out there. And so, great option there. Let's take it home for folks that are going to be selling, if they're going to convert to direct to consumer, or we're talking sales tax. That can be very incredibly overwhelming, intimidating, and one of those inhibitions of like, hey, I'm not going to do this.
Hmm.
Let's dispel that myth.
Taxes, as complicated and seemingly unnecessary, although they are kind of necessary, as they are, there is a very easy solution out there,
Yep.
and that is with a third-party software product. Either Avalara or TaxJar is what we recommend. TaxJar is a lot cheaper. Avalara is more full-featured. Install one of those apps. It takes care of all your tax needs, all calculation for anywhere in the United States, done. There's nothing more to do there.
Perfect. Okay, so we're dispelling all sorts of fun myths. Let's take it home. How about ERP for folks that are out there that they're worried about how would that integration work?
Exactly, and that in these are things that will sink a project. Again, these are inhibitions, but from a more practical or technical level.
Yep.
My proposal is, if you don't already have e-commerce, to be really honest, you're not going to get 100 orders on your first day of launching your e-commerce website. This is going to be a process. This is a foundation. We're building on this foundation. So the ERP integration is easy to be argued. We don't need that for day one. 6 months down the road, when you're getting a steady stream of orders and it's actually becoming a burden on accounting or customer service to be manually entering these orders into your ERP, 100%. Now we have a business case. But until then, just focus on getting this website up, getting that traction there, and focus on one bottleneck at a time. ERP integration will be a bottleneck eventually as you obtain success here, but start simple. The website design, we can get into this thing where, and this is where, if the e-commerce website is a replacement for our current website, which down the road is a really good and important thing to do, we can kind of get the cart in front of the horse and say, well, we just need to do that phase one. Well, the cost goes up, and now we have more difficulty getting buy-in on the project. Start simple, shop.mywebsite.com, keep it segregated, and then eventually in phase two, pull all this together as your official website replacement.
Love it. I couldn't love that ERP. That was a drop the mic right there. So again, hit that rewind button. If you're listening to this, if you're thinking, well, I can't do this because of the ERP, Joseph just gave a wonderful, powerful solution. And you know what? If you get the 100 orders the first day, God bless you, and then we'll figure that out from there, right? So, Joseph,
That's
how
right.
about DIY, or do you partner with an agency? What are your thoughts here?
That is the $1 million question. Not quite that much, but in reality, what I presented here today is a DIY solution. You can do it yourself. Now, there is a case to be made that maybe you don't have the time to do it. Maybe you just don't feel like you have the expertise to do it. I'm showing here today that the expertise required to get the most basic, just something there, is incredibly minimal. The value that an agency brings is a lot of experience. So, especially as the project gets more complicated, that's where an agency is really going to shine. They're going to walk you through a process. We bring our expertise to the table. We help you through the SEO implications. Curt also comes along in these type of conversations. He has a lot of SEO experience, building a website, especially as a website replacement, not something that's sitting along the side, but a true website replacement. That's where an agency is really going to shine. and make you look your best, be able to bring the best features, the best experience to the table for your customers. But if we're talking about something on the side, shop.mywebsite.com, you want to get something just spun up, get this foundation going, which is absolutely critical. It's important. We got to get some traction going. Shop.mywebsite.com, this separate experience, it's absolutely ripe for a DIY. And I think 2 days, 2 business days of working, you should be able to get something like that set up.
Wow, absolutely love it. And what we do is we work with a number of MEPs, manufacturing extension partnerships. If you're not familiar with that, I encourage you Google MEP, and we offer a do it with you where, how can we
Mhm.
hold your hand and kind of get this through that process, and again, reduce the overwhelm, get off the sidelines, get into the game. So there's so many, it's not like it was 20 years ago when you first started, as you said, or, I started in 1995. Goodness, I wish I had a Joseph Maxwell in my corner to help me, because I was just figuring it out, day by day, literally building the parachute on the way down. So, there's no reason, whatever direction a manufacturer wants to go, there are all sorts of experts out there, a lot of seasoned veterans that have gone through this.
Mhm.
And again, reach out to Joseph here on LinkedIn. I'd love to address any, help anybody out there. Joseph, what's the best way for folks to find you? Obviously, we're here live on LinkedIn. What's the best way for
That's
folks
right.
to find you?
LinkedIn is outstanding for me. Joseph@swiftotter.com is my email address. I'm here. I'm available. I love helping merchants out, just answering questions, no strings attached. As you see, we're putting together this information to equip manufacturers to see them succeed. I love manufacturing here in the United States. I'm all about that and want to see you all succeed.
Well, I absolutely love it. And I'm trying to, let's see, I thought we had one more slide. I'm trying to get to it, but for some reason, it's not going to pull up my
Not
man.
going.
It's not going. It's not going to the,
That's okay.
okay.
That's
So,
okay. We'll
uh,
we can end it here.
we can end it here. So, Joseph, again, our friends at Swift Otter, it's just such an honor, privilege of connecting and working with your team. High integrity. We've been together in person. We've had chicken wings and hockey games together, and
Oh yes.
so just my respect and admiration for you and what you're doing, helping entrepreneurs kind of get through this overwhelming, intimidating thing.
Mhm.
And when you think about it, this hit me for the first time just this past year. It's almost like a little bit of a startup. You could be a manufacturer that's been around for 30, 40, 50 years.
That's
And
right.
this little website thing can
That's right.
be like, it's almost like you're starting your own little tech startup. And so just really encourage folks, align yourself, do your due diligence, align with experts out there. And there's no reason to go on your own through that path.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. Curt, thanks for coming on, helping out here with this conversation. Curt at b2btail.com. Outstanding. Been very much in the industry, very connected. He mentioned those manufacturing extension partners. He is incredibly connected into that network and can help get you in touch with at your local MEP. MEPs are outstanding references, people to have in this industry. They support you. They want to see you succeed as well. But Curt, very knowledgeable SEO content and all that stuff. So with that, we'll take it away. Take care, Curt.
Thank you.